What is going on, you guys? So I'm going over today just like the easiest way to not be broke in the military. The number one thing that I saw as in the fleet, in the military, because that's my background, and this also goes for civilians as well, taking on a car loan that you can't afford. So these people would go out and buy a really, really nice car, and then they would sit around the barracks because they didn't have any money to pay for said car that they now had. I don't think it was specifically their car loan that was killing them. I think it was more of the insurance, car loan, and other habits that they had in their life, like eating out, smoking, drinking, and just other really expensive habits that they just wouldn't kick. And so that's what really brought them to the doorstep of always being broke. So I would really advise just staying away from a brand new car as soon as you get to the fleet in the military. So there really isn't a reason why you should have a super nice car right off the bat. So as in the military, when I was back in the fleet as an E3, so Lance Corporal, I was getting $750 a paycheck, so about $1,500 a month. And that's really all that I had to work with. And some of these guys that I knew, they had, I believe, just a ridiculous payment every month. They'd have a $650 payment on their vehicle plus their insurance that they had to pay on it, which was just choking them out. So what I would recommend, first off, don't buy a vehicle if you don't know what you're doing. If you've never gone out and purchased a vehicle on your own, don't try and do it. Always take someone with you, even if you were really car savvy prior. Well, find somebody that really knows what they're doing. Find somebody that's purchased 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, flips cars. Those people are somebody who flips cars is a really good mentor to take with you because they really know what to look for. Don't be stuck on the fact that you need a car right now, and give it a little bit of time. Specifically, don't get hung up on what type of vehicle. I know that when I went out shopping for a car, I wanted a very, very specific, really narrows the amount of vehicles you can go look at. And there's some really, really good deals out there, especially with what I'm going to advise that you do as well is also go and just purchase a very, very basic vehicle with cash for the first time. And use that for the first year or whatever, or however long it takes you to save up, and then you sell that vehicle, and then you go and buy a better vehicle with the funds that you've saved and the funds that you have taken and set aside for the new vehicle. So when you do that, you're gonna cut out a lot of those interest payments, and then you're also not gonna have to pay as much for insurance because all you need is liability if you actually own your vehicle outright. Whereas if you have a loan and somebody else has your title, then you are going to need to have full coverage, which is significantly more expensive, especially for people who are buying nicer vehicles straight off the bat or sports cars. Those vehicles, the insurance is going to be significantly higher, along with the interest payments. Another thing to know, and always remember this when you buy vehicles, don't buy something brand new off the lot unless you are willing to bite a lot of money and just it's just going to disappear. So for example, when I went and purchased my vehicle, so it wasn't the best vehicle, I definitely made a lot of mistakes, and then eventually I forgot to do a little bit of maintenance on it, and I ended up blowing the engine up. So the water pump failed on me while I was driving one day, and it seized up the engine, overheated and seized up. Anyways, so $4,000, $4,500 just disappeared right there. So the contrast, I made some mistakes, and contrasting the other example that I'm going to compare it to was a sergeant that I had in the fleet, and he had gone and purchased a brand new Hyundai smart car of some sort. So I believe he initially purchased it for $20,000 was the original amount, and by the end of it, I think he had paid around 25,000 for this smart car vehicle. And at the end of his contract, we all had 5-year contracts, and you get to the fleet. For us, it was within like 6 months. So he had it for 4 years. I want to say about 4 years. And by the time that he had it, the value he paid around 24,000 for it. And by the time, if you were to sell it that last day when he got out, I think he could have got maybe 16,000 back for it. So instantly, right there, he's already down around $8,000 just during that time period, and that's not including anything with maintenance or insurance or gas. And he didn't even get that great of gas mileage. I think he was bragging about getting, I think, 40 miles to the gallon, and I remember driving a Sunfire manual, like 98, and I was getting around 35 to 36 miles to the gallon, and I paid $600 for that vehicle. That was when I was back in high school. But yeah, that, not the best car that I've ever driven, but, I mean, you can find really old vehicles that have really great gas mileage. How to actually pay for it. So what I'm going to recommend is that when you, for military people that are in the barracks waiting to get to the fleet, just save your money, save up a few grand. You can buy a half-decent car for about four grand, and that will get you around for a while, and then you can sell that. So there's one of two ways that you can do it. It really makes a lot of sense. So you can either just hold on to that four grand car for a long time and save up all the money that you want for your 10 or 15 grand car. I don't know, however you want to do it. Or you can take that money and save up around, $3,000-$4,000. So you can sell your vehicle for $4,000, and then you can buy a $7,000 car with the extra $3,000 that you've saved. And then you continue to do that up until you get to the car that you actually want. And you can save a lot of money. You're not paying anything in interest, and then you don't have to have full coverage, which is really, really nice. So, really good way to save a lot of money as you get to a better car while you're still driving. Personally, back in the fleet, I wish I would have used the bus system a lot more that they had there. I was living in the barracks. I had several people that their lifestyle, the type of car that they had, and just the amount of debt that they were already bringing to the table was really, really crippling their finances. So what I would do, specifically with these individuals, was I would just pay for their gas. I'd fill up their tank, and I could pretty much go wherever I wanted for the entire weekend, just because they needed that money so bad, and they needed that gas in their tank so they could go and do other things. So it was, they were my friends, so I would always hang out with them, which it really wasn't that big of a deal. It's not like they were a complete taxi, but that is what I would do, and I could pretty much get around after I blew up my vehicle, not the vehicle, but just the engine. And so that is what I did, and I recommend that you do that for the first month or two and actually figure out exactly what you want. Look around, take your time. You don't need a vehicle as soon as you think you do. You're going to be there wherever you're stationed for a little bit, so you don't need it the week after you get to the fleet. And do be very, very careful. There was 2 of us in the group of 5 that checked into the unit, and they had both gone together to a dealership right outside the base, and they had purchased vehicles for twice their value, and they had taken, I think one of them had 16% interest rate, so it's like buying a vehicle on a credit card, and the other one, it was something ridiculous along the same line. It was just absolutely ridiculous how much these guys were paying every month and every year. And they continued to fail to make anything other than just the minimum payments. They'd get all amped up about paying it all off and being able to not have this vehicle anymore. And they couldn't unload it on anyone because they would have been $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in the hole if they would have sold it on the street for just what it was actually worth. So do look out for those. People near the bases do not have your best interest at heart. They know that you're going to have a paycheck for the next 4 years, and they know that they can pretty much siphon off a quarter of what you make easily in profits by selling you cars for more than they're worth at like ridiculous interest rates. You can get, if your credit score is good, you can get, I know a lot of people, they got interest rates for between anywhere from 3 to 7% for a vehicle. So it's possible. Talk to people, work on your credit score. I'll have a link over there to how to do this in the best ways. But yeah, so just do be careful when you're buying a vehicle. Take people with you, and always be able to walk away from it. And I'll have another link to show you exactly what you need to do in a future video, what you need to do to check and make sure that a vehicle that is secondhand is good to go, and some really basic upfront stuff to look at prior. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.